Let's talk about one of the biggest forces driving climate change, greenhouse gases. Specifically, we're talking about carbon dioxide and methane, what they do, why they matter, and most importantly, what we can do about them. If you've ever wondered how these invisible gases are heating up our planet, and what solutions are out there, stick around. This one's for you. Let's get started. First, let's break it down. Greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, CO2, and methane, CH4, are naturally occurring compounds in our atmosphere. They act like a cozy blanket around the Earth, trapping heat from the sun that would otherwise escape into space. This is called the greenhouse effect, and honestly, it's a good thing in moderation. It's why our planet isn't a frozen ball of ice. But here's the catch. Human activity has cranked up the production of these gases, way beyond what nature intended, turning that cozy blanket into a suffocating quilt. So what's the deal with carbon dioxide? CO2 is the heavyweight champ of greenhouse gases, making up about 76% of global emissions. It's released every time we burn fossil fuels. Think coal-fired power plants, gas-guzzling cars, or even jet fuel powering your last vacation flight. When CO2 enters the atmosphere, it's like adding extra insulation to that blanket. It absorbs infrared radiation, the heat energy bouncing off Earth's surface, and traps it. The more CO2 we pump out, the thicker that insulation gets and the hotter our planet becomes. Scientists estimate that CO2 levels have spiked from about 280 parts per million before the Industrial Revolution to over 420 parts per million today. That's a massive jump, and it's directly tied to a global temperature rise of about 1.1 tons since the late 19th century. Now let's talk about methane. Methane might not get as much airtime as CO2, but it's a silent powerhouse. Pound for pound, methane is over 25 times more effective at trapping heat than carbon dioxide over a 100-year period. It comes from places like livestock digestion, yes, cow burps and manure, landfills, natural gas leaks, and even thawing permafrost in the Arctic. The scary part: methane's concentration in the atmosphere has more than doubled since pre-industrial times. While it doesn't stick around as long as CO2, about 12 years compared to centuries, it delivers a brutal short-term punch to global warming. Okay, so we've got CO2 building up over decades, and methane hitting us hard and fast. Together they're supercharging global warming, leading to melting ice caps, rising seas, and wilder weather, like those record-breaking heat waves or floods you've seen on the news. But here's the good news: we're not helpless, we've got solutions, and they're already in motion. First up, cutting CO2 emissions. The big win here is switching to renewable energy. Solar and wind power are cleaner, greener alternatives to fossil fuels. Countries like Denmark are already generating over 50% of their electricity from wind, and solar costs have plummeted 90% in the last decade. Imagine this: every rooftop with solar panels is a mini power plant, slashing CO2 output. On the personal level, driving electric vehicles or even biking instead of burning gas can shrink your carbon footprint big time. What about methane? One genius fix is capturing it before it escapes. Methane digesters on farms turn cow manure into biogas, a renewable fuel, while slashing emissions. Landfills are getting in on this too, with systems that trap methane and convert it to energy. And here's a wild one. Scientists are working on feeding cows seaweed supplements that could cut their methane burps by up to 80%. Small changes, massive impact. But it's not just about tech. Policy matters too. Governments can push carbon taxes to make polluters pay, fund green projects, and set methane reduction targets. And you can vote for leaders who prioritize this stuff, reduce meat in your diet, or support brands that care about emissions. Every step counts. So there you have it. Carbon dioxide and methane are the big players in global warming, but we've got the tools to fight back. Knowledge is power, and now you've got it. What's your take? Drop a comment below. Do you think renewables or methane capture is the game changer?